The wind howled through the broken streets of the old alien city. Dust floated in the air like soft smoke, and the sun glowed weakly behind red clouds. The buildings were half destroyed, burned from the war that had ended weeks ago. Yet in the middle of those ruins, two small figures stood in silence. Twin alien girls with silver blue skin and bright, glowing eyes. Their names were Lyra and Naya. They were barely 16 cycles old in human years. Their faces looked the same, innocent, young, but tired. Their white hair shimmered when the light hit it, and their small hands were cold as they held each other. They stood in the same corner every day, beside a broken lamppost and a half-buried human sign that said Sector 12. That corner had become their whole world. They waited there because of a promise made by a human soldier named Ethan Cole. They first met Ethan during the last night of the Great Battle. The air was filled with fire and smoke. Explosions shook the ground and alien ships fell from the sky like burning stars. The twins had been hiding under a collapsed bridge, scared and alone. Their parents were gone, their home destroyed. Then a human soldier came, tall, strong, wearing dusty armor with a blue emblem that said Earth Defense Force. He looked at them not as enemies, but as children. He took off his helmet and smiled, his face dirty and tired, but kind. "It's all right," he said softly, his voice calm despite the chaos around. "You're safe now. I won't let anything happen to you." No one had spoken to them like that before. Ethan gave them water, food from his ration pack, and wrapped a piece of his own blanket around their shoulders. He told them his name, told them he was just a mechanic, not a hero, not an officer. But that night, to the twins, he was everything a hero could be. When the bombing got closer, Ethan carried both of them into an old marketplace where the walls were still standing. "You'll stay here," he said. "It's safer. I'll go find transport. 7 days. I'll come back in 7 days when it's clear," Lyra had asked quietly. "You promise?" Ethan had looked straight into her glowing eyes and smiled again. "I promise. 7 days. Don't move from here, no matter what happens." And then he was gone. That was 7 sunsets ago. Now, only the silence kept them company. Lyra still believed. Every morning she looked to the sky, waiting for the sound of a human ship. She cleaned the corner, fixed the broken lamp, and whispered, "He'll come back." He promised. Naya, however, had started to lose hope. On the 3rd day, she stopped counting the hours. On the 4th, she stopped sleeping. "Humans don't keep promises," she said one night, sitting by the fire they had built from broken wood. "They only survive for themselves." Lyra shook her head. "Not him. He's different." "How do you know?" "Because he looked at us like we were people," Lyra said softly. "Not things. Not enemies." The wind carried the sound of her voice away, but her words stayed in Naya's heart. On the 5th day, dark clouds covered the sky. The ruins began to echo with strange sounds, metal scraping against stone, footsteps that didn't belong to humans. The girls stayed close together, whispering Ethan's name like a prayer. That night they saw something in the distance. A light, small and flickering. It rose into the air, then vanished. "Was that him?" Lyra asked hopefully. Naya didn't answer. She just looked at the sky, feeling tears she didn't want to admit. The 6th night came. The cold was cruel. The city was dead and quiet, except for the sound of wind and the whisper of fear. Lyra tried to stay awake, afraid that Ethan might return and not find them. She remembered his words, "Don't move from here." Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his smile, tired but warm. His voice echoed in her mind, "I'll come back." On the 7th morning, the sun rose weakly, painting the ruins in pale gold. The twins stood together, staring at the empty horizon. "He's late," Naya said, her voice trembling. Lyra smiled sadly. "Maybe he's just lost." They waited again, in the same corner, by the same broken lamp, where the promise was made. They didn't know that far beyond the horizon, a human soldier named Ethan Cole was still alive, trapped behind enemy lines, crawling through dust and fire, trying with every breath to keep his word. He hadn't forgotten them. He was coming back. And that was the power of a promise. A simple word that held two alien hearts together in a world that had already lost hope. The second sunrise came quietly. A pale, cold light that touched the broken walls and made the ruins look like ghosts frozen in time. Lyra woke first. The air was dry and her throat hurt, but she smiled anyway. She turned to her twin, whispering, "Naya, wake up. He might come today." Naya slowly opened her eyes. She didn't speak, just stared at the gray sky. Her heart was tired, but she didn't want to break her sister's hope. So she nodded and said softly, "Maybe today." They stood again in the same place, the corner beside the cracked lamppost, the one Ethan had told them never to leave. It was strange how a small piece of broken street had become their entire universe. The days were long on their planet. One day could last nearly 20 Earth hours. To fill the silence, Lyra told stories, the kind Ethan had shared when the war was still burning. "He said there's a blue planet far away," Lyra whispered, drawing a circle in the dirt. "With oceans so big you can't see the end, and people there walk on soft green ground." Naya looked at the drawing and smiled faintly. "Do you think he really lives there?" "Yes," Lyra said. "And maybe when he comes back he'll take us there too." The idea made Naya laugh softly for the first time in days. "Two alien girls walking on Earth? The humans will scream. Then we'll tell them not to be afraid," Lyra said with a grin, "because one human wasn't afraid of us." For a moment, the ruins didn't feel so lonely, but as the third day passed, the silence became heavier. The twins searched the nearby streets for food. Most of the buildings were burned. The air smelled of metal and old fire. They found a can of dried human rations under some rubble, the same kind Ethan had given them before. Lyra's eyes brightened. "It's his food. Maybe he was here." Naya frowned. "Or maybe another soldier dropped it." "Don't build dreams on dust, Lyra." Lyra hugged the can close to her chest. "Even if it's dust, I'll believe in it." Naya turned away. She couldn't argue anymore. Deep down, she wanted to believe too, but hope hurt more than fear. That night, something moved in the shadows. The twins sat by their small fire, warming their hands. The wind was soft, almost peaceful, until they heard a sound. Metal scraping. Heavy steps echoing between walls. Lyra froze. Naya reached for a broken iron pipe, their only weapon. "Is it Ethan?" Lyra whispered. Naya shook her head. "Ethan doesn't make sounds like that." From behind a fallen building, a figure appeared, tall, wrapped in torn metal armor, eyes glowing red. It wasn't human. It was one of the scavenger drones left from the war, still searching for survivors. The drone's sensor lights swept across the ground, blinking. "Organic life detected," it said in a broken mechanical voice. "Run!" Naya shouted. They sprinted through the ruins, their small feet kicking up dust. The drone fired a beam that burned the wall beside them. Lyra screamed, ducking as stones rained down. They turned into a narrow alley, hearts pounding. Naya pushed Lyra behind a metal container and whispered, "Stay quiet." The drone's light scanned the alley. For a moment it stopped, then moved away. Only when the sound faded did Lyra breathe again. "He told us to stay safe," she whispered shakily. "He told us to wait," Naya pulled her close. "He also told us to survive." When the danger passed, they returned to their corner. The fire was gone, the food half burned. The broken lamp still stood, leaning slightly like an old friend refusing to fall. Lyra sat down beside it. "He'll come tomorrow," she said. "He'll see the light from this corner and know we're here." Naya sat beside her, silent. The stars above them shimmered, two bright moons watching over their fragile faith. On the fourth day it rained, not gentle rain, but thick red water from the poisoned clouds. The twins hid under a half-broken roof, listening to the heavy drops hitting the metal ground. "I miss his voice," Lyra whispered. "When he talked, it felt like the world stopped being scary." Naya looked down. "You miss a dream, not a person." "No," Lyra said softly. "Dreams don't bleed." "He did." Naya looked at her sister, and for the first time she felt guilt. Lyra's hope was pure, maybe foolish, but it kept them alive. That night Naya held Lyra's hand while they slept. It was cold, but she didn't let go. On the fifth sunrise, the rain had stopped. The air smelled of rust and silence. Lyra walked to the corner again, eyes on the horizon. Naya followed, carrying the last of their food. They sat together, not speaking much. "Do you think he can find us?" Lyra asked. "He promised," Naya said quietly. "If he's alive, he'll come." For the first time, Naya's words carried a hint of belief. And somewhere far beyond the red sky, a wounded human crawled through the dirt, whispering the same words. 7 days. I promised. The waiting had only begun. The sixth night came with no stars. The sky was heavy and dark, the color of ash. The old marketplace was silent except for the faint whistle of wind through broken glass. Lyra sat near the rusted lamppost, her silver-blue skin faintly glowing in the dim light. She whispered to herself, "He's close." "I can feel it," Naya didn't answer. She sat beside her sister, sharpening a piece of scrap metal into a blade. Her eyes were tired but alert. They had waited for days and survived hunger, cold, and fear. But now something else had entered the city. Something that hunted in the dark. Earlier that day they had seen movement far down the street. Shapes, not human, not machines. Tall, thin, and wrapped in dark armor made of bone. The twins had watched from behind a cracked wall, their hearts pounding. "Who are they?" Lyra whispered. "Scavengers," Naya said grimly. "Raiders. They come after wars. They sell anything they find, even people." Lyra's eyes widened. "People?" "Yes," Naya replied. "Especially girls like us." Lyra held her sister's hand tighter. "Then we hide. Ethan told us to stay quiet." So they did. They crawled through the ruins, moving like shadows, hiding from the hunters who picked through the wreckage of war. But scavengers had sharp eyes and hungry hearts. They could smell fear. As night fell, the hunters grew bolder. A harsh voice echoed through the streets. "We know you're here, little lights. We saw your fire last night. Come out and we'll make it quick." Lyra pressed her hands to her mouth to stop her breathing. Naya gripped the metal blade, her knuckles white. The voice came again, closer this time. "Two small aliens. Pretty ones. The human is dead. Come out and we might sell you to someone kind." Lyra felt her chest tighten. Her heart screamed no, Ethan wasn't dead. He couldn't be. She looked at Naya, her eyes wide with tears. "We have to move." Naya nodded. "Follow me. Stay low." They crawled between broken walls and through piles of debris, their small bodies blending with the dust. Every sound, every breath, and felt like thunder. Then they heard it, the heavy steps of the scavengers getting closer. The twins ducked behind an old vending machine, hearts beating fast. The smell of smoke and blood filled the air. They could see the hunters now, 3 of them, each wearing strange masks made from animal skulls. One of them carried a human rifle. "That's Ethan's gun," Lyra whispered in horror. Naya's heart stopped. "What?" She looked closer, and yes, the weapon was marked with the Earth emblem. Her voice trembled. "They must have found his camp." Lyra shook her head fiercely. "No, maybe he dropped it. Maybe he's still alive." But the hope in her voice was met with silence. The scavengers stopped near the corner, their corner, the place where Ethan had promised to return. "Fresh prints," one of them said. "They were here. 2 small feet," the leader growled. "We'll catch them. Set the net drones." A buzzing sound filled the air. 2 flying drones rose from their packs, scanning the area with red beams of light. Lyra and Naya pressed against the wall, holding their breath. The drones floated closer, the red light brushing past Lyra's cheek. Naya's hand trembled around the blade. She whispered, "When I say run." "Run!" The drone beeped, detecting motion. "Run!" Naya shouted. They bolted out of the alley as the drones fired bright nets of electric wire. The first net missed by inches. The second struck the wall beside them, exploding in sparks. The twins sprinted through the ruins, ducking behind fallen beams. The hunters shouted and gave chase. Lyra stumbled, scraping her knees on broken stone. Naya pulled her up. "Don't stop." "I can't." "Yes, you can." Naya yelled, her voice fierce with love and fear. They turned a corner and then froze. A dead end. The scavengers' footsteps echoed closer. "There they are." Lyra's tears blurred her vision. "We're trapped." Naya stood in front of her sister, raising the sharp metal blade. "Then we fight." The first scavenger stepped forward, grinning behind his mask. "Brave little alien. I like that." He raised his weapon, and then a light flashed across the sky. It was a flare. A bright, burning light cutting through the darkness, painting the city red and gold. The scavengers stopped, shielding their eyes. "What is that?" one hissed. Lyra looked up, her heart racing. "It's him, Ethan!" "It's his signal." The flare burned brighter, floating above the ruins like a falling star. The scavengers cursed, shouting in confusion. "Retreat!" Could be human soldiers. They ran back into the shadows, vanishing as fast as they came. Lyra and Naya stared at the sky, breathing hard. He came back, Lyra whispered, voice trembling with joy. He promised. Naya looked at the glowing flare. Her heart wanted to believe, but deep down something felt wrong. The light wasn't rising like a human signal. It was flickering and almost dying. That light, she said slowly. It's not a rescue. It's a warning. Lyra turned to her sister, confused. A warning? Naya nodded grimly. Something's coming. The night fell silent again, but this time it wasn't peace. It was the silence before the storm. Far away, deep in the ruins, a broken human beacon repeated one word again and again. Evacuation failed. Ethan Cole missing, and the twins, still holding each other, realized their waiting was far from over. The night after the flare was restless. The air felt heavier, colder. Smoke hung in the sky where the flare had burned out. The city looked different now, like it was watching them. Lyra didn't sleep. She sat under the old lamppost, her silver-blue skin faintly glowing, staring at the spot in the sky where the light had been. She whispered, it was his signal. I know it. Naya sat close, arms around her knees. Her eyes were red from sleeplessness. Maybe, she said softly. Or maybe it was something else. Lyra turned to her sister. You don't believe anymore, do you? Naya looked down. I want to. But believing doesn't bring people back. Lyra's voice broke a little. He said 7 days. It's the 7th day. The wind blew through the ruins like a sigh, carrying a faint metallic echo, a distant hum of something that didn't belong to nature. By morning, the hum grew louder. The twins stood in the street, their hair blowing in the rising wind. Something was coming, a ship maybe. They could feel it in their bones. Look. Lyra pointed. In the far distance, a small piece of metal flashed under the sun, falling slowly through the clouds. Naya's heart leapt. A pod, it's a human pod. They ran toward it, their small feet kicking up dust. The streets were dead, but the air buzzed with hope. The pod had crashed near the old government tower, its silver hull split open like a broken egg. Smoke rose from its side. Lyra rushed forward, shouting, Ethan!
Ethan, it's us.
But the pod was empty. Inside was only darkness, the smell of burnt plastic and a flickering blue light from a half-broken communication device. Lyra's voice trembled. Where is he? Naya stepped carefully inside and picked up the device. The screen was cracked, but words blinked weakly across it. Transmission log, code 47, evacuation failed. Human unit Ethan Cole, missing, do not approach, hostile zone. Lyra stared at the screen, tears forming in her glowing eyes. No, he's not missing. He can't be. Naya didn't speak. She just placed her hand on her sister's shoulder. The static from the device hissed softly, and then for a moment another sound came through. A voice. Faint. Broken. Human. If anyone hears this, tell them I'm coming back. 7 days. I promised, Lyra gasped. It's him. It's Ethan. He's alive. Naya froze. The voice repeated again. Same words, same tone, and exactly the same. It wasn't live. It was a loop. It's just a recording, Naya said slowly. Lyra shook her head furiously. No, he said he's coming back. Naya's throat tightened. She couldn't tell her sister the truth. Not now. They stayed by the pod all day, waiting, hoping the signal would change. But the message kept looping, the words fading each time until only static remained. As the red sun dipped low, the city grew quiet again. Too quiet. Naya felt it first, the sense of being watched. The hairs on her neck rose. She turned her head slowly. Something was moving behind the smoke. Lyra, she whispered. We need to go. Lyra was still staring at the device. Just 1 more minute. Lyra, now. Naya grabbed her arm and pulled her out of the wreckage. From the shadows emerged shapes. Not scavengers this time, but mechanical drones, their frames scorched and rusted from the war. Their red sensors glowed like blood. The twins ran. The drones gave chase, moving fast and silent. The girls darted through alleys, ducking under beams, their small breaths sharp and frightened. They reached their corner, their lamppost, their promise, and hid behind the broken wall. The drones passed by, scanning the streets, then flew off toward the horizon. The twins stayed silent until the hum faded. When the danger passed, Naya looked at the lamppost, still standing, still glowing faintly. He told us to wait here, she said. Lyra nodded. Then we will. Naya sat down, wiping the dust from her face. You really think he's alive? Lyra smiled weakly. I don't think. I know. Her voice was soft but full of strange strength, the kind that only comes from faith too deep to kill. Naya looked at her sister and felt something shift inside her. Maybe belief wasn't foolish after all. Maybe hope itself was power. As the night fell again, the twins built a small fire. Lyra clutched the broken communicator, the screen still glowing faintly. She whispered to it like a prayer. He'll see this light and he'll find us. Naya lay beside her, eyes half closed. And if he doesn't? Then we'll wait again, Lyra said simply. The firelight danced on their faces, two glowing reflections in a dying world. Far above them, unseen in the thick red clouds, a damaged human ship drifted through orbit. Inside, a bloodied soldier crawled toward a cracked transmitter, whispering through cracked lips. Just one more signal. Hold on, girls. I'm coming. The signal had reached them. But it wasn't over. The true storm was still on its way. The seventh day began with thunder. Thick, black clouds rolled across the alien sky, and the red sun disappeared behind them. The air smelled like metal and dust. The wind howled through the ruins, rattling loose pieces of steel. Lyra stood beneath the old lamppost, their corner, their waiting place, her eyes on the storm that grew darker by the minute. Her silver-blue skin shimmered faintly, catching flashes of lightning. She whispered to herself, He's out there. He's close. I know it. Beside her, Naya wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. You said that yesterday, she murmured. Lyra smiled weakly. And I'll say it again tomorrow, if I have to. Naya didn't reply. She was tired. Tired of the cold, the waiting, and the empty sky. But she couldn't leave her sister. Lyra's hope was the only thing that kept them both standing. By midday, the storm hit. Rain, thick, gray, and oily, poured down in sheets, turning the ground into mud. The twins ran for cover under a half-broken bridge. The sound of thunder was deafening, like the roar of old war machines returning from the grave. Lightning flashed, and for a moment the entire city lit up. And in that flash, Naya saw it, a shadow, a human shape, walking slowly across the far end of the street. Lyra, she whispered urgently, grabbing her sister's arm. Look! Lyra turned and saw the figure too. Tall, limping, carrying something that glinted like metal. Her heart jumped. Ethan! Without thinking, she stepped into the rain. Lyra, wait! Naya shouted, running after her. The shadow kept walking, steady, silent. The lightning flashed again on, and it was gone. The girls stopped, panting. The street was empty. Only rain and wind. Where did he go? Lyra cried, her voice breaking. He was right there. Naya looked around, her instincts sharp. Maybe it wasn't him. No, Lyra said stubbornly. It was. I saw him. Thunder rumbled again, closer this time. Naya's heart pounded. She felt eyes on them, something watching from the shadows. Then she noticed footprints, deep ones, human boots, half filled with water, leading away from where the figure had stood. Lyra, she said quietly, pointing. Look, Lyra's eyes widened. He was here. They followed the footprints through the storm, across cracked streets and fallen walls. The prints led them toward an old building that had once been a communications tower. The door was half open, creaking in the wind. Maybe he went inside, Lyra whispered. Naya hesitated. Every part of her body screamed not to enter, but Lyra was already walking in. The inside of the tower was dark. The air was heavy with dust and static. Sparks flickered from broken cables and water dripped from the ceiling. Ethan, Lyra called softly. Her voice echoed off the walls. No answer. They climbed the stairs slowly, one step at a time. Each floor looked the same. Empty, cold and silent. When they reached the top level, they found something strange. A small fire, still burning, and beside it, human gear. A torn uniform. A helmet, a metal badge engraved with E. Cole. Lyra fell to her knees, touching the badge with trembling fingers. It's his! Naya picked up the helmet. There was dried blood inside. Her heart sank. Lyra, we need to go. Lyra shook her head, clutching the badge to her chest. He's still alive. He must be. Lightning flashed through the broken windows, and in that moment of light they saw the reflection of a figure standing in the hallway behind them. Human, motionless, watching. Ethan? Lyra turned, her voice shaking. The figure didn't move. Another flash of lightning, and he was gone again. Naya grabbed her sister's hand. "We have to leave now." They ran down the stairs, their footsteps echoing through the tower. Something followed them. A slow, heavy sound. When they reached the ground floor, the door slammed shut on its own. The lights flickered. Lyra screamed. "Ethan, if that's you, say something." A faint voice came through the static-filled air. "Go back. Stay at the corner." The twins froze. "Did you hear that?" Lyra whispered. "Yes," Naya said. "But it didn't sound like him." The voice came again, distorted, mechanical. "Stay at the corner. He's coming." Then silence. The door creaked open. Wind rushed in, carrying the sound of the storm. The girls ran out into the rain, terrified and confused. When they finally reached their corner again, the lamppost flickered once, twice, and then glowed brighter than before, as if answering their fear. Naya collapsed beside it, breathing hard. What was that? Lyra held the badge tightly. "A sign," she said. "He's still guiding us." Naya stared at her sister's face, soaked, shivering, but still glowing with belief. She wanted to tell her it might have been a ghost or a trick of the storm. But deep down, something in her chest whispered that maybe, just maybe, Ethan really was close, because far beyond the ruins, through the storm and the darkness, a human soldier stumbled through the mud, broken, bleeding, clutching a beacon. He whispered into the wind. "Hold on, girls." "I'm almost there." The storm raged on. The promise was alive, and the shadow that returned was not done yet. The storm had passed, but the world felt quieter. Too quiet. The rain had washed the dust away, leaving the ruins glistening under the dull red morning light. Smoke curled from distant fires. The wind carried no sound of engines, no footsteps, no life. It was the 7th day. Lyra sat beneath the old lamppost, clutching Ethan's metal badge close to her heart. Her silver blue eyes reflected the weak sunrise. She whispered, 7 days. He promised. Naya sat beside her, wrapping the torn blanket around them both. "We've been saying that every morning," she said softly. "But today feels different." Lyra looked up at the horizon. "It feels like the day he comes back." Naya wanted to believe her. She truly did. But after everything, and the scavengers, the drones, the shadow and the storm, it was hard to know what was real anymore. Hope felt fragile, like glass ready to break. By noon, the air grew heavy again. The wind picked up, carrying dust across the streets. The twins hadn't eaten since yesterday. Their fire was gone, their strength fading. Lyra still refused to move from the corner. "He said not to leave," she murmured. Naya sighed. "If he's alive, he'll want to find us breathing, not starving." Lyra turned to her with a weak smile. "Then we'll survive by waiting." They sat in silence, the world around them still and endless. Even the clouds seemed to hold their breath. As the twin suns began to set, one pale, one orange, a faint sound reached their ears. A distant hum. At first it was so soft that Naya thought it was the wind. But then it grew louder, deeper, mechanical, familiar. Lyra's eyes widened. "That's an engine." Naya stood, her heart pounding. Could it be? The sound came from beyond the hills, echoing between the ruins. Dust rose in the distance, and a faint blue light cut through the fading sky. "It's him," Lyra shouted, her voice shaking. "Ethan!" They ran toward the light, tears streaming down their faces. The shape appeared slowly through the dust. A small human shuttle, scorched and cracked, its engines barely holding together. It descended awkwardly, landing on one broken wing. Smoke hissed from its sides. The door opened with a groan, and there he was, Ethan Cole. His armor was shattered, his face pale and scarred. His left arm hung limp, his right hand gripping a small beacon. He looked thinner, older, but alive. When his eyes found them, a faint smile crossed his cracked lips. "Told you," he whispered hoarsely. 7 days. Lyra ran to him, tears falling freely. "You came back." Ethan staggered, nearly falling. Naya rushed to his other side, helping him stand. "I promised," he said weakly. "Didn't think I'd make it. But I don't break promises." They brought him to the corner, their corner. The lamppost flickered softly above them as if it knew the promise had been kept. Ethan sat down, breathing hard. His hand trembled as he set the beacon beside him. It blinked weakly, sending faint pulses of light into the sky. "What is that?" Naya asked. "Rescue signal," Ethan said. "For you. They'll come soon." "You mean humans?" Lyra asked. He nodded slowly. "Not for me. For you both. You're safe now." Lyra frowned. "But you're staying, right?" Ethan smiled sadly. "Wish I could." His wounds were worse than they looked. Blood stained his armor and his breathing was shallow. Naya's voice broke. "We can help you," he shook his head gently. "Too late for that. I just needed to see you safe." Lyra grabbed his hand. "You can't leave again." He looked at her, eyes full of quiet pride. "I came back. That's what matters." Then the ground shook. A low rumble rolled through the streets. The girls looked up. 3 black drones were descending from the clouds, scanning for the beacon's light. Naya's heart dropped. "They followed you." Ethan tried to stand, wincing in pain. "Then we ended here." He pulled a small detonator from his belt. "When I trigger this, run to the ship. Don't look back." Lyra's eyes widened. "No, you'll die." Ethan smiled faintly. "Already dying, kid. Just want to make sure you don't." Before they could stop him, he limped forward into the open street. Lightning flickered across the clouds as the drones locked onto him. The air filled with gunfire. Ethan fired back, sparks flying around him. He hit one drone, then another, but the third struck him hard, knocking him down. Lyra screamed his name. He looked up at the sky, the rain beginning again, and whispered into his radio. "Promise." Kept. Then he pressed the detonator. A bright flash filled the night, fire, wind, and silence. When the dust settled, the drones were gone. The beacon still blinked weakly beside the corner. Lyra and Naya knelt beside Ethan's body. His eyes were closed, his face peaceful. The rescue ships arrived minutes later, their bright lights flooding the ruins. Human voices echoed, shouts, footsteps, orders. But Lyra heard only one thing, the soft hum of the lamppost above them, glowing steady like the heart of a promise that never truly died. Naya whispered, tears falling. "He kept his word." Lyra nodded, her hand still clutching his badge. "Yes, and now the stars will know his name." Above them, the beacon pulsed one last time, and the message it sent into the heavens was simple. Promise fulfilled. A night sky was full of light. Dozens of human rescue ships hung above the ruins, their white beams cutting through the smoke like a sunrise reborn. The old city, once gray and forgotten, glowed again. Lyra and Naya stood together beside the flickering lamppost, their silver-blue faces wet with tears and rain. Ethan's body lay wrapped in his own tattered cloak at their feet. His badge, the one that read E. Cole, rested on his chest, shining faintly under the artificial light. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The air felt sacred, like the world itself had stopped to listen. Lyra finally whispered, "He did it. He really came back." Naya nodded, her throat too tight to speak. They had waited 7 days in the same corner, through hunger, fear, and storms. The promise that once sounded like a dream had become their reality, but not the ending they wanted. A group of human soldiers approached carefully, weapons lowered. They looked shocked when they saw the 2 alien girls guarding a fallen man. One soldier, a woman with a blue insignia on her chest, knelt beside them. "Are you 2 the ones who sent the signal?" Lyra nodded weakly. "He did," she said, pointing to Ethan. "Ethan Cole." The woman's expression softened. "Lieutenant Cole? He's the reason we found this place. His beacon led us here." Naya's voice was quiet, steady. "He saved us. More than once." The woman looked down at the lifeless soldier, her eyes glistening. "He always kept his word," she said softly. "Even when it cost him everything." The soldiers carried Ethan's body to their ship with care. Lyra followed close behind, clutching his badge in her small hand. Naya walked beside her, silent, every step heavy. Inside the ship, everything was strange. Cold metal floors, bright screens, the steady hum of human technology. It smelled like oil and medicine. A medic offered them food and water. Lyra ate quietly, staring at the stars outside the window. Naya watched her sister, then asked, "What happens now?" The woman in command, Captain Rhea, knelt beside them. "We'll take you to the human colony," she said gently. "Ethan's people will take care of you." "Why?" Naya asked. "We're not human." Captain Rhea smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But he saw something human in you, and that's enough for us." As the ship rose higher, the ruins of the old city grew smaller, swallowed by the clouds. Lyra pressed her hand against the window, watching the place where they had waited for 7 days. Their corner, their promise. "He found us," she whispered. "He kept his word." Naya stood behind her, her voice soft. "And now we'll keep his," Lyra turned, eyes shining. "What do you mean?" "We'll tell his story," Naya said. "Everywhere we go, every human and alien will know who Ethan Cole was." Lyra smiled through her tears. The man who kept a promise. Days later, they arrived at the orbiting human base. It was bright, clean, full of noise and people, a world completely different from the ruins they had known. The twins were given small rooms and warm beds for the first time in months. But at night, they couldn't sleep. Lyra kept the badge beside her pillow. Sometimes she swore she could still hear Ethan's voice in her dreams, calm, kind, full of quiet strength. "Don't be afraid," it said. "Keep believing," and she did. Weeks passed. The humans held a ceremony for Ethan Cole, not as a soldier, but as a symbol. They called him the Promise Keeper. The twins stood beside his memorial, a metal statue of him holding a flare high above his head. The same way they remembered him in the storm. Crowds gathered, both human and alien. Captain Rhea spoke to them. He didn't save cities or armies. He saved 2 children, because to him one kept promise meant more than 1,000 victories. Lyra and Naya stepped forward. Lyra placed Ethan's real badge on the statue's chest. Naya spoke clearly, her voice strong. "He taught us what being human truly means, and to care, to protect, to never break your word." The crowd was silent. Even the air felt still, and then the statue's base lit up with the last message from his beacon, Ethan's final words, recovered from the signal log. "Hold on. I'm coming back," the crowd gasped softly. Lyra closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. That night, the twins stood at the observation deck watching the stars. The earth shimmered far in the distance, a small blue jewel against the endless dark. "Do you think he can see us?" Lyra asked. Naya smiled. "He's part of the stars now. He'll never stop watching." Lyra leaned against the glass, whispering, "Then we'll keep waiting. Not for him, but for others who need us." Naya nodded, because that's what he would have done. The 2 sisters stood together side by side, no longer frightened, no longer alone. The human who once saved them had given them something greater than safety. He had given them a reason to live, to hope, to believe in promises again. And far beyond the clouds, among the silent stars, a small light flickered in space, Ethan's broken beacon, still floating, still blinking one last message, promise kept.